All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Faces of Business. I am your host, Damon Pistolka, and I am excited to speak with our guest today because we have none other than Cam Martinez with us here today. And we're going to be talking about a doozy of a topic, and that is what to do when you want to quit your business. Cam, thanks for being here today, man.
Amazing, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, Cam, it's very rare, first of all, that I'm talking to someone that's actually in Washington State, which is cool. And you live in a beautiful part of the state out there on the peninsula. What brought you to that part of the state? This is kind of we're going off the wild side here a little bit, but what brought you to that part of the Washington State?
Yeah, no worries, man. So I'm from Colorado originally.
Yeah.
When I met my wife, she moved out to live with me in Colorado. And long story short, her father passed a couple years ago, so we came back to her home state of Washington to be here for her mom and take care of her mom and
Nice.
be closer to family.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what brought me out here.
Yeah. Well, a little bit less sun than Colorado.
Yeah, a lot of it.
A lot of it. Yeah. You have like 300 plus and my sister lives in Greeley. So, but here you have a lot less temperature swing.
Yeah, it's been beautiful so far, man. But the winter will be the real test of my ability to deal with Washington. So I'm excited.
Yeah, that is a little challenge. The first couple. But you just got to remember, it's just liquid sunshine coming down to help us all grow. So, as we get started in the show, we always like to talk about how did you get started what you're doing? I mean, you are a fractional COO, CMO, chief of staff, helping people really just get their businesses going right. Really, what got you into that?
Oh man, well the path I'm on now is a little bit different than where I was originally. I can go as far back as you want me to, but really, what you want me to go far back?
Let's hear it. I mean, because we want to understand you and kind of what really, because it's a unique thing to do what you're doing, and it's cool to hear the backstory.
Yeah, well, you brought up my experiences at university and college. That was the second place I went. When I first started college, I went to a junior college to play baseball, actually. Tried to do that and realized that wasn't going to be my thing. And so I was in a meeting with my coaches at the time, and they were like, "We want you to play, but just not this year." And I was like, guys, this has been great, and I think I'm going to go pursue business, whatever that means. They were like, "What do you mean? You have your whole life to do this." I was like, "Nope, I know what I want, so I'm going to go for it." So I transferred to Colorado State University and had a bunch of fun, met a lot of cool people, and some of those people led me to being on the triathlon team, like you mentioned before the call. And then my third year at university, I kind of got serious about my studies and got serious about business and realized that, okay, cool, this probably isn't the route for me. This probably isn't going to be the thing that leads me to learning more about business, learning more about this thing that I want to learn how to do. And so I ended up leaving university, had a really cool setup there. The year that I did triathlon, I was also a resident assistant, so I had a lot of responsibility managing people in my hall and things like that. But what I was also doing was there was a restaurant on campus at the university I was attending, and they hired me to do their marketing. So I kind of I dipped my toes in the water of business, so to speak, but it wasn't really anything exciting. It was just I was managing the social media profiles. And then I had a friend at the time who back home was pursuing the same thing, and he hired me to do some of his social media stuff as well. And I fell in love with marketing. And so when I left college, I went back home and started going into the city and meeting a bunch of people on networking and doing everything I could to just get in the room and in the environment full of people that were trying to do something cool in the world. So that led me to attempting to start a marketing agency. I was generating leads for the real estate industry back in 2017.
Yeah.
And, I ended up transitioning from that. I met a guy on Facebook actually, and him and I partnered, and we created a business that was a group purchasing organization. So we had a community on Facebook back when Facebook groups were really exciting, and in that community, we were doing interviews like this and creating some training and things for people who were either at the beginning stages of their business or working on, getting to 6-7 figures in their business.
Mm-hmm.
What we would do is we go to companies like Zoom and Zapier and ActiveCampaign and Grammarly and Typeform. We would say, hey, we have thousands of people in our community, all who are customers of your software. And so what we would do is we would negotiate individual unique pricing for our members. And so then
Mm-hmm.
they get a membership, and then they get all these discounts to all these
Yeah.
cool software platforms. So that was my first taste of like, all right, this is something like, this feels like a legit type of business. It wasn't really, it was kind of a cool thing to do on Facebook. But while we were working on growing that, I learned a ton about operations.
Yeah.
I was, responsible for managing our customer support and keeping our customers happy and hiring people because the workload became a lot. And
Yeah.
so I learned how to hire and onboard and train people. I learned how to set up automations and create systems so that I wasn't, when I was meant to be present with my friends or family, I wasn't thinking about business because there's this fire I got to put out that's really bugging me. So I learned everything I could to like reduce that. And then after that business and that relationship ended, I just started doing that for other people's businesses. I was kind of in a transitionary period where I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. I've got some skill sets. I'm hungry and I'm excited and I want to keep learning and keep growing. And so what I would do is I would just reach out to people on social media and see if there was any way that I could help them. And doing that a lot over time led me to some cool relationships and some cool companies. And ever since, I've been acting as people's right hand or leading the operational infrastructure of the business or leading the marketing efforts of a business. But really my love for it is, and this is why I do what I do, I like having my thumb on the pulse of everything,
Yeah.
I don't like to be boxed into just operations or just HR or just marketing or just sales. I like to understand the landscape of the entire thing and find cool ways to make it all work together more seamlessly. So
Mm-hmm.
to this day, that's what I do for myself and for other people.
Yeah. So what do you enjoy about it the most?
That's interesting. It's evolved over time. I'd say there's multiple things that I enjoy in an equal amount, but I would say a high amount. One is working with like the leaders of the business or the CEO, the founder, or the executive teams of a company, and I like being in decision-making conversations and just on the calls or in the rooms where innovation's happening or ideation's happening or strategies happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, I love working with people to create an outcome, whether that's publishing a project or creating new ways to create a project more effectively or efficiently. I'd say I just took an assessment recently. A friend of mine led me through one of the assessments he uses in his business, and what came out of that were my strengths. There's 3 different tiers, but my strengths came out to be discernment and tenacity. So really what that meant, according to the assessment, is I like making sound decisions and then getting shit done, essentially.
Yeah.
Taking action. So if I'm in a place to do those 2 things, I think that it's a fulfilling place for me to be, and it's where I provide the most value, I'd say.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's when you talk with businesses, you've you can read it in like Traction or something where they're talking about the visionary, or Rocket Fuel, where they're talking about the visionary and the integrator, or whatever you want to call it, that operational mind that does like to make decisions and get things done is oftentimes what limits businesses, their growth. They get, because visionaries are very good at seeing value in a marketplace and starting to capture that value and starting to make money at it. But when it comes into the point that you have to make that switch and either get somebody to do the stuff that keeps the business growing and scaling, because your systems, can't be just three of us in the room that you do this, you do that, you do that,
Right.
and go off and do it. And you really have to get other people to help you, and more people get involved with it. If you don't have someone like yourself, it really makes it challenging. So
Yeah. I think that was it Seth Godin that wrote the book Lynchpin? I was obsessed with that for a while, like being being in a place where I'm so valuable that I will always have a place somewhere. That was the top of my mind for a long time.
yeah,
But my
yep,
thing, I think, is being like the calm energy with a person.
yeah,
A visionary's got tons of ideas and they want to charge ahead. And I think I'm great at like, okay, I'm the anything's possible kind of guy, and let's be reasonable and realistic with not everybody is that way. And so I think I do a great job of mediating the two and um, being kind of the transition or the orchestrator from visionary to everyone else, like
yeah,
translator to everyone else. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, and it's good because of the topic we're talking about today.
Yeah.
What to do when you want to quit your business, because I honestly don't think, if a visionary or someone that has founded a business hasn't just sat up and said, what the hell am I doing? Do I really want to do this anymore?
Yeah.
They probably really haven't started a business.
Right.
But one of the things that when we talked and I read about it that you talk about is what to do when you want to quit your business. And I think it's so interesting because of that just that pure frustration that people get into sometimes when they start a business, but the realization over time that that's kind of natural once in a while.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. And what, first of all, very few people write that down.
Yeah.
What to do when you want to quit your business. What got you thinking about that?
Yeah, when you asked for potential topics that we could talk about,
Yeah.
I was I gave it some thought, and I was like, well, what do I actually like? What have I experienced before? What have I
Yeah.
actually? What kind of value could I actually add to the show that might not have been talked
Yeah.
about already? Um, and I thought about one of my longest standing clients. We started working together. We worked on and off from 2020 to 2021, and then we really started working together from late 2021 on.
Mm-hmm.
And the relationship started with them hiring me and bringing me into. I'll preface by saying this specific client was in business for 25 years. They didn't really have much reason to change what they were doing. What they were doing was working and working well. They're
Mm-hmm.
working with big clients like Intuit and Starbucks and Dell, um, HP and Whirlpool. Like they were doing well, and they had the people that were on their team. They had a team of 6 people who'd been there for 14 years. So there wasn't really anything wrong with the business. Like it didn't
Yeah.
really need much from me, at least. But they brought me in, and they wanted to hire their right hand, an operations manager, director of operations, whatever you want to call it, labels and titles, right?
Yeah.
And so that was my first initiative with them was, cool, let's get this person into your business, which we did. From there, I will do my part in training them and getting them up to speed with what it is that you are looking for and what it is that you want, which didn't take long because they were a fantastic hire and they had all the acumen that he wanted and the experience and the skill set that he wanted. Um, so once that was done and once that part of our agreement was over, we continued working together because of the conversations that we were having. And so we spent a lot of time having one-on-one conversations about really everything going on in their life, right? It was business, and it was making decisions for the future that he wanted to create. But in
Mhm.
order to do that, they needed to know where it is that they wanted to go. What do you actually want out of this? And of course, it was going back and forth between, well, maybe I want to scale this to multiple millions or 8 figures, or
Mhm.
bring on more people and switch my value proposition, or switch the people that I'm working with, or just change the company and pivot completely in a couple years. Throughout our time together, there came a day where I was like, do you even want this business anymore? Do you even want to do what you're doing? Do you want to put in the effort and the time and the energy it might take to get where you think you want to go? And they ended up deciding that, you know what, I've been doing this long enough. I've gone back and forth in my thinking about what I want and what I don't want long enough. And what they realized is what they actually wanted was to shut down the business. They went through the whole, like, potentially sell it or hand it off
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
employee to run, or all that. And they decided that they didn't want to do it anymore. It wasn't because there was anything wrong with it. They just had different priorities. At the stage in their life they were in, they had kids, they were in a marriage, they have different goals and aspirations, which I think happens for a lot of us, right?
Mhm.
As we grow and expand, we want different things, and we want to move in different directions. So um, that's how that relationship evolved. Is they, it's interesting because I was there to help them scale their business, and then they didn't have a business anymore. So there wasn't really much for any of us to do, and they kind of took a step back completely. But I experience that with people all the time, where
Mhm.
they've got this thing, and I think, just from experience, when people or business owners come to me, it's either their last resort, and they're like, I got to figure this thing out because I'm so burdened by the thing that I got to do something different to feel different about my business, or to feel different about my role or my life within the business, right? It's a part of my identity, but it's a part that I don't like. And so they either
Mhm.
want to get rid of the feeling that they have that their business is causing or creating, um, which usually looks like they think it's a marketing issue, or a team issue, or an operations issue, or a sales issue, or if this thing were different, then I would feel better. Uh, what's usually underneath that, though, is they don't feel good. They don't
Yeah.
feel good about themselves or their business, or the direction they're headed, either because they built their business on somebody else's idea of success, or somebody else's idea of what's working or not working. Um, so, with that being said, I mean, we can talk about where to go from there if someone's in that position where they're
Yeah. Yeah.
thinking about, okay, well, I might want to do this, but
Yeah, because it is. I mean, you make a great point,
yeah,
because you can go an awful long time and be very successful running a business or working a career that doesn't have the fulfillment that you really want it to have,
yeah,
or none, quite honestly. But and there are a lot of business people, professionals working for others, or business owners themselves, that find themselves in that situation. So, what are some of the things that you really see that, when you're working with people, make it that they can recognize? How can they recognize this?
it usually, and I am not them, right? So I'll speak just from my observation
Yeah,
and
yeah.
my experience with people. They're usually in a place where, the cliche, I want to spend more time with my kids, or I want to be more present in my marriage, or I want to
Mhm.
um, put this away and focus on this other thing I'm passionate about. But it usually starts with questioning things like, man, am I actually doing what I want to do? Am I happy? Am I having fun?
Mhm.
Am I waking up every day like, yeah, I get to do this thing. This is fantastic. usually people don't get there until they've tried everything, so that they can step back and go, okay, I did everything that I could and I'm still feeling this way.
Yeah.
So usually asking those types of questions. They've usually spent time hiring consultants or implementing EOS or getting clear on their vision and their mission and their values, going to conferences, going to masterminds, talking to people who are, more seasoned than they are, so to speak, about what do I do? Like, I'm having trouble with my business, meaning it's either a cash flow issue or the people on their team aren't getting done what they want to get done, or I implemented all these systems and nobody's using them, or whatever that looks like for them. It's usually a throwing their hat in the ring and going, all right, this is my last ditch effort to change the way that I feel about this. So that's usually what I think people are experiencing when they're asking the question we're talking about: what to do when I want to quit.
Yeah. It is such a well, it's a gut wrenching thing.
Yeah.
It's a
It's
gut
an
wrenching thing.
identity check for a lot of people.
Yeah. So when people are doing this, what are some of the how do you really break this down?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things to unpack when you're looking at that.
Yeah. Well, usually where I would start with someone who is coming to me to help them figure out what's wrong in my business.
Yeah.
Right. Even if it's not a personal issue, even if it's not, well, I feel good about this thing, I just want to make it more effective and efficient.
Yeah.
What I would do is some people call it due diligence. We call it an assessment. My wife and I would go in and take a look at their business and take a look at everything that they've got going on, from their financial metrics to their sales and marketing strategies to interviewing their team to see what the culture is like, to their vision, mission, values. Like, we'll look at all those things. We'll look at their customer experience and their customer journey and the products they're creating, right? It just depends on the type of business. And usually what comes out of that is, cool, here's, the next steps for the next 90 days, so to speak, to move in a direction that will get you to a place that you want to go. So that, on the tactical side, is what we would do for a business owner. From a more like holistic perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
How to approach that is to ask a simple question, and that's, what do I want? What do I actually want?
Yep.
You ask somebody that question and they'll spend 20 minutes telling you what they don't want, right? Well, I know I don't want to do that thing, or I know I don't want to feel that way, or I don't want to experience that thing. Okay. What do you want? What do you want your business to look like? What do you want your team to look like? What do you want how do you want your customers to experience your business, right? How do you want to feel about this thing? It's asking those specific questions, which then, gets people thinking, what do I actually want? Because I think a lot of people are blindly just walking the path they thought was the thing that's going to get them to wherever they want to go. For some people that works out great. And there's, people that work with me usually are asking that question and not arriving at a place that they feel good about, or they don't even know to ask that question.
Yeah. That's something. That's something. Because like you said, it is really, if you ask somebody where they want to go, you're going to hear a lot of the places they don't want to go, but not where they want to go, because they probably haven't taken the time to think about that.
Yeah. Because they don't have the time. They don't have the energy. They're bogged down by all these other things, which is fine. I mean, business is tough.
Yeah.
Business is complex and complicated and often built on a shaky foundation. So it's understandable.
Yeah. So as you're helping people through this, what are some of the things that when you're working with them and they're starting to see there are some things we can do to make these changes, what are some things that you hear coming from them? Their focused demeanor, what begins to change as you're like, okay, I'm not at that place anymore, I'm starting to fall back in love with my business?
Yeah, they're usually excited about Usually how it turns out, and this is a recent experience with a new client, we are working together on some of their email automation stuff and creating some new sales and marketing copy and strategies and things. And we launched a test to see how it would go. And they're in a different part of the world. So it's late at night where I'm at while they're messaging me, and 7 new messages come in and they're like, I can't sleep. I've got all these ideas. I'm so excited about where this is going. That's
Yeah.
usually how it goes. Is I think sometimes people just need permission to do something differently. I think a lot of us are so caught up and there's like a specific way we got to do something, or there's a way that we should be thinking about things. And when all of that's removed and there's no barrier to creativity or exploration for somebody, then it's just limitless for them, right? It's just there's unlimited potential, unlimited ideas because they've been shown a different way. So I pride myself on kind of bringing that a new way of maybe experiencing their life and their business, and showing them and helping them understand that this can be anything that you want it to be. There are no rules here. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to come into your business and go, you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to do that. There are principles of business, right? There's things that work that every business ought to know and ought to implement. But beyond that, it's really like if someone who owns a business is going about it in a way that is going to create a sense of, happiness for them, they're doing something that is their own way of going about it. That's their, like, right? Like Steve Jobs wasn't doing what HP or Intel was doing. He was doing his own thing. He was going about it his own way.
Yeah.
And regardless of anybody's opinion about the guy, he stuck to his guns. He's like, I'm doing it the way that I want to do it. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And now look at Apple.
And it's that way with any business. I mean, you can have a plumbing business down the street and it can be completely different from any other plumbing business in the area or the world.
Yeah. Imagine you're a plumbing business that has a presence online. You're going to win.
Yeah.
Most people aren't going about it that way. Especially in that type of blue collar industry.
Yeah.
If you have a presence online and you have a way for people to book an appointment through Google or through your website, the experience automatically elevates just because of that thing, right? So I agree.
Yeah, those are the kind of things that really can make a difference. And two, like you said, it's bringing that different perspective. I think what you're doing is helping people with perspective in some of those situations, because we all get locked into it. We all get locked into it with our perspective. And sometimes we're so focused on this because we're so busy, we're so jammed. We just keep doing what we've been doing. And that perspective and that shift of perspective allows us to see a new way that will completely change things.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. So as you're seeing this going, what are some of the fun things you've been working on? You talked about some messaging campaigns, some other things like that. What's fun and exciting in business that you see that's really changing things?
Oh, well, for me personally, I love LinkedIn. I love that you're doing live videos on LinkedIn. It feels so like old to me these days, not in like it's aged. It just isn't as popular as it used to be. And I love live video. I remember Facebook when it launched its live video platform. That was the thing. I would just like walk down the sidewalk and do a live video and talk about whatever I was doing. So I love live video. I love LinkedIn. I love long form writing. The way that I create content is really just speaking to all the things we've been talking about today. Being, writing from things that I've experienced and the everyday emotions that we feel and everyday, challenges or things to rethink about or overcome. I like writing about that stuff because it's real, and it's regardless of how successful you are in your business or how seasoned you are, or how, whatever your status is in the world, we all deal with the same things, right? We got a neighbor that isn't as kind as we'd like them to be, or our car battery dies and we got to get to a meeting, or
Yeah.
The roof's got a leak. Like those are all things we all deal with that I'm not sure if people don't like to talk about that stuff. I like talking about real deep thoughts that I have. I'm a deep guy. I'm a deep thinker. I like going that route. So that's really fun for me is especially on Twitter now that Elon allows it to be beyond 240 characters. I can write paragraphs and paragraphs. So
it's quite a change. That is for
Yeah.
sure. That is for sure. So exciting things you see happening in business though. What are some of the things that are, I mean, everybody's talking about AI. There's some things that are hitting in that you go, there's some, what specifically, because everybody just says AI, what specifically in AI is making you excited right now?
Well, I have a good friend, Michael Maddaloni. I'll shout him out. He is creating a new company of his called Brevetto. I posted about it last week or the week before. When I spoke to him, he was showing me the back end of his company, and he's using Claude's one of the popular AI platforms, and he's going behind the scenes of it and playing with all the settings and all the things that you can do with their open source platform. And what he's doing and what OpenAI made popular is their AI agents. I don't mean to go through the whole, matrix agent thing.
Yeah.
That's just the way that they talked about it. It's what they named it. But what it's going to allow business owners to do, right, especially service providers, what his business specifically right now in its current iteration will allow business owners to do is dump out their ideas about what it is that they wish they could do in their business, and the AI agent he's creating will give them an entire business plan, what to do on marketing platforms, what to do, like how to write your sales copy. It's a full-fledged, like your own personal business advisor, essentially. And I don't mean to butcher what his thing is, but AI to me is exciting. I think that it's here to stay. I think if you're not using it or learning about it or understanding the principles of it, you're going to fall through the cracks, unfortunately. I think OpenAI and ChatGPT will be the leader of all the newest innovation. I could be wrong, though they're kind of leading the charge on all these things, right? They're eventually going to launch their video automations. We're going to be able to type in a prompt and a 4K or OLED video will pop out of it. So I'm super excited of what it's capable of doing. Beyond that, for writers like me, I have molded my own personal chat GPT to write just like me and speak just like me and sound just like me. So I will just put my ideas into it and edit it a little bit, and then out comes, how I would say something that might take me weeks or months to actually like create in seconds. So
yeah, it is really interesting how that part of it's changed. And I was talking to someone a few months ago, was talking about the agents, and actually in terms of being able to take someone like a Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, whoever you want to talk about it, and impart that knowledge into an agent that would be able to then deliver 80% of what that person could standing in the room talking to someone with that agent. And not 100%, but it could get 80%, because that is what most people need, is that 80%. They don't need the extra 20. And how far that would really take us using an AI agent to help, just solve problems that way. It's pretty crazy.
I think that where we're headed actually, and this was a popular conversation a few years ago, it's kind of died off since, at least from my perspective, or maybe I'm just not up to speed with it. We still haven't entered into the metaverse. We still haven't entered into the online avatar world, like the Ready Player One type experience. That's coming. That's gonna happen. We're gonna have to like come back to center to realize that we're still experiencing this real physical world when this simulated virtual world is almost as real, if not as real, as what we perceive to be. That's coming. That's gonna happen.
Hopefully a little bit slower, so we have a time to adjust, because it's a bit,
I don't know, man. Elon's launching robots that can serve you alcohol and cook food for you and things. So
yes. After seeing them catch that booster, that there's a lot they can do. That was absolutely insane, man.
yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, when you're helping people, Cam, talk about the typical company person that usually is coming to you.
Yeah, usually the way I describe it, if there's a spectrum of business owner, there's usually two sides of the spectrum that come to work with us, and there's in between, obviously. It's either the people that we talked about at the beginning of this call that are in dire need of something to change. Something's got to be different because this just isn't working. We look good on the outside, we're presenting well to our customers, but on the inside, we're just a mess, right? Communication's a mess. Decision making doesn't exist. Project management is all over the place. Usually those types of people. And then on the other side, it's the people who are either just entering business or I had a client that worked in the design industry for decades, launched a course. The course was super successful. That turned into a community, and their vision was to create the Juilliard of design, of online design. So it was like a big dream, big vision. And they came into the conversation with a whole business plan and their org chart that they wanted to create and all the systems they wanted to build. And I had to go, well, hang on, we don't really know what this is going to be yet. Like, we don't really know what it's going to take to get to where you want to go. It's great you have that vision, but let's go from step 1 to step 2 instead of step 1 to step 77.
Yes.
It's usually those two sides of the spectrum, and then everyone in between, depending on what they're dealing with. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's cool what you're doing, man, and helping people, get like we said today, get themselves straight to figure out what do you want to do when you want to quit your business. That's a big help for a lot of founders. That's for sure. So if people want to get a hold of you, Cam, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
LinkedIn's great. I read and respond to every DM. You can go to kenshocraft.com. You can book a call on there.
Awesome.
My DMs are open everywhere else. Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for being here again. We had Cam Martinez here from Kensho Craft. We were talking about what to do when you want to quit your business. I want to just say thanks, everyone, for being here today. If you listened to this, got in late, go back to the beginning, start over again, because he was dropping a lot of great stuff. Cam, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, man. It was fun.
All right. Well, we'll finish up online. We're going to say bye now to everyone that's listening. We will be back again next week.